Okay, so this is my first attempt at trying to make sure that we are all on the same page here by doing a couple of quick podcasts for you guys. So right now I'm going to detail Chapter 3, Question 17. The problem states, write a class, wilting flower, as a subclass of flower. Provide one constructor that takes wilting flower's lifespan as a parameter and saves it in a private field. Another field, age, should be initialized to 0. On each step, each call to the act method, the age of the wilting flower should increase by 1. Once the age exceeds the lifespan, the flower should die, or call its remove self from grid method. Hint, do not start from scratch adapt wilting flower from BoxBug. We actually don't even need to adapt wilting flower from BoxBug. We could be pretty successful here by just going at it based on what we know. So as you can see here, we want to import the flower class. This is critically important here because that is exactly what we are extending right here. We capitalize the name of our class, so we know that right off the bat. And this should be the first and easiest line of code. Easiest. You guys can hear people honking in the background. It's busy at my place on Super Bowl Sunday. So I'm going to look at the first line here. Write a class wilting flower as a subclass of flower. Well, by adding in extends flower, I'm demonstrating that wilting class is a subclass of flower because it's extending it. Okay. Next, when I look at this code here and I look at the second line in the problem, provide one constructor that takes wilting flower's lifespan as a parameter and saves it in a private field. Well, I know that I've got lifespan here and I've got private. I've chosen int. I could also choose double, but this has absolutely nothing to do with a constructor. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to look at this line right here because I've created a constructor, public wilting flower. Remember, this is a class once again, so we're using upper camel case here, so we're always capitalizing the first letter of the class. What I'm doing then is I'm entering lifespan as a parameter and then saving it as a private field up here. So this is where it's saved as a private field. Okay, but I've chosen int and I've used the word span because it's representing the lifespan, but you could have easily just written something like the letter S because we're passing in that parameter. We then save, or rather we store the word span in lifespan because we moved to the left in this equation. Okay, so we know the lifespan is equal to span. Next, when we go to the third line in our actual problem, another field, age, should be initialized to 0. So what we do here is we initialize age to 0. Pretty quick and simple. We've got both of our curly brackets here, and then this whole thing right here is now the constructor. I also want to make sure that I store, or rather save, each of the variables, each of the fields as private. Okay, so both of these right here are fields. Now, any item within our wilting flower class can go ahead and utilize the fields. I'm going to clear this up now because it's getting a little messy. I hope you guys don't mind. You can always come back and review the video in a second. So now I go on to the fourth line in the problem. On each step, each call to the act method, the age of the wilting flower should increase by 1. So I'm looking at an act method. This right here is the act method. Public void act. Now I know this because I looked at page 62, I believe it is. You're going to find an example of an act method within the U-turn bug class. Now I'm going to go ahead and throw down my curly brackets here. I know I've got them finishing off right there as well. I'm going to go back and I look at the fact that my age should be increasing by 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type the word age, because that's my variable is referenced from above. And then I'm going to use an iteration. This little guy increases age by 1 every single time that the act method runs. So if it runs once, it's going to go to 1. Runs twice, it's going to go to 2. Runs a third time, it's going to go to 3. Then I'm going to take a look at the final sentence prior to the hint in this problem, where it says once the age exceeds the lifespan, the flower should die. So we want to call its remove self from grid method. We can double check how to properly write down the name of this method by looking in the API for the class flower. So we know that since it's a method, it starts lowercase, and then we use upper camel case because that makes it a lot easier to read because we have a lot of words here, right? Now, the trick here, and I think this is where a lot of people got caught up, is that once the age exceeds the lifespan, the flower should die. The word once is actually another way of saying if. Absolutely important here, okay? Because if we know that if age is greater than lifespan, then it should die. Well, it dies by just calling the method, and then we have our parameters there, and then we finish it off with a semicolon, and that's it. So if age happens to go above lifespan, then the flower dies and it removes itself from the grid. Like I said before, you could have used the hint, do not start from scratch, adapt wilting flower from boxbug, but I don't really think that you guys need to do that, okay? Just as a quick recap, I'm going to change my pen color here to red because I'm tired of looking at blue. This here is your method. This here is your constructor. And then this up here is your class and your fields. All terribly important to remember. The structure of these is not going to change that much. You're going to see constructors and also methods change, but the same way that you initialize them, it's going to be just about the same every single time. Of course, it's going to change based on whether or not you're returning a value with the word void, whether you want it to be public or private, but those are the same common questions you're going to be asking yourself every time. So hopefully this helped with number 17. Wish you guys the best of luck, and I am out.